Welcome to the Mercer County Football Show, presented by the St. Francis Medical Center, your heart hospital in the city of Trenton. I'm here with Rich Fisher of the Trentonian and of FishForScores.com. I'm Sean Lerman as we take a look at Week 2 of Mercer County football. But first, we'll take a look back at Week 1, and there were some pretty good games in that first week in Mercer County. A lot of close scores and maybe some surprises along the way.
Yeah, Sean, I think maybe the biggest surprise was a team that lost, but really looked good is Notre Dame. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people thought that Allentown was going to run wild over them because Notre Dame is going through transition and they have a new coach and everything like that, and Allentown is a good, solid team. Notre Dame had about 3 leads of 14 points in that game, and Allentown, credit to Allentown, they came back and then they won in overtime. But Notre Dame really distinguished itself well in that game, and I think if we had a surprise team of the week, I think Notre Dame might have been it for their fine effort.
Yeah, I almost feel bad about not being more bullish on the Irish on our show last week, because I did have that feeling that it was going to be a better year for Notre Dame, but I didn't go out on the limb and say it, so I can't take credit for thinking it. But they certainly looked good Week 1, and a little bit of a surprise, but sometimes when you get a new head coach in there, players will respond,
Right.
And obviously Mark Lordi doing a pretty good job there in the early going. I'm curious to see what they do against a pretty good Hamilton team, it seems too, that picked up a win over a good Princeton team in Week 1.
Yeah, I mean, Hamilton and Princeton slugged it out in a defensive struggle. It was 7-3. Princeton went up 7-0. Hamilton got a field goal right back, made it 7-3. Neither team scored for a while. And then Dejon Dunstan scored a late touchdown. But Hamilton, as we said last week, Hamilton has its whole front seven back on defense, so they're very experienced. Their challenge is going to be Xavier Lazinski from Notre Dame. Xavier threw for 300 yards and 4 touchdowns last week against Allentown. So, or he threw for nearly 300 yards. So this is a kid that you're going to want to watch, and he's going to be a challenge for that front seven of Hamilton. But I mean, yeah, Hamilton. That game, I know both teams were a little upset with their offenses. I know Princeton was a little upset with the way they didn't move the ball. Hamilton moved the ball. I mean, their quarterback, Mark Bethea, ran for 140-some yards, and he also had 2 interceptions. I mean, this is going to be a kid to watch this year. He's only a junior, and he's getting his first real substantial play at quarterback this year. So, that's going to be a good game Friday night. That's going to be interesting. Is Notre Dame fired up and inspired by the way they played against Allentown, or are they going to be a little down because they had leads and they didn't hold on to it? If I'm the Irish, I'm taking a lot of good things out of that game. So I'm coming in there fired up. I think it's their home opener. I think the other game this game was at Allentown, right?
Yes, it was at Allentown.
So it's their home opener Friday night. You got a Hamilton team coming in that a lot of people think is going to be doing some good things this year, and they're coming off a win. So 2 teams coming off good efforts, one coming off a win. I think this is going to be a great game. I really do.
Yeah, I think so too. And it was interesting. We were talking to Chris Ermer, who did the broadcast of that Hamilton-Princeton game on Saturday, and he said that he was a little surprised that he didn't see as much from the Princeton offense, bringing back quite a few players. But then you said, well, they lost some guys on that offensive line.
Yeah, and when you lose linemen, that's you're only as good as your line. That's no secret. And Rory Hellstrom is a definite talent, and he did some good things. And David Beamer, what did David Beamer? He didn't have a bad game. Let's see, Beamer was, I think. Sorry about this.
No problem.
He threw for 133 yards and 2 touchdowns.
That's not bad.
But the problem is Princeton had no rushing attack. Princeton only ran for 54 yards. So if I don't know if Hamilton's plan was to just shut down the run and let them beat him with the pass, or if that's how Princeton's offense is going to go this year. We'll have to see. But it's one game, so
right.
And you always see big leaps, or you should see a big leap in how a team performs from Week 1 to Week 2, because coaches get a lot better idea of what's going on after they see their team under fire in a real game and things like that, and they can make adjustments and things like that. So, we'll see.
Another game that looked to be a pretty good one from last week was Trenton Central picking up a win over a pretty good Rancocas Valley team, 13-7.
Yeah, Trenton, I mean, And Trenton, that was a big win for Mohammed El Sharmini. It was his first win as the Trenton coach, and that was another slugfest. It was, let's see here, it was 7-7 tie, and then Trenton got a late touchdown to win it 13-7. And Trenton's defense, we said last week, Trenton's going to have a good nasty defense this year, and they showed it that night. And I think they had some pretty good offensive efforts too. Let's see. Tomir Richardson rushed for 100 or threw for 118 yards. He rushed for 118 yards. Dante Fletcher caught a 38-yard touchdown pass from Davion Hill. Hill was 6 for 8 for 93 yards, so he was efficient. So Trenton did enough on offense to win, and they put the game in the hands of their defense, and their defense did a really good job.
Another team that picked up a win this past weekend that had a tough year last year, Steinert. They come out with a 21-0 win over West Windsor Plainsboro North in their first game.
Yeah, I was at that game, and West Windsor North is going to. West Windsor North has a small roster. I mean, they may have one of the smallest Group 4 rosters in the state, and they have some small players. But you know what? They have a quarterback. This kid, his name escapes me right now, but he is going to cause a lot of problems for teams to defend. His name is, let's see, no, wait a minute. Where is it? I know I have his name.
Got a lot of notes there.
Yeah, I know, too many notes. Malik Thompson. Malik Thompson is the quarterback. This kid, Steinert had him hit for 20-yard losses a ton of times, and he got out of it. And he only had 48 yards in rushing, but he could have been in the negatives. He is elusive. He is fun to watch. You can't bring him down. You know, he makes people miss. He can cut back. He can spin off of tackles. He's fast. I mean, I think North is going to struggle this year just looking at the numbers that they have. But you actually started by talking about Steinert. Steinert did a really nice job. Their defense did a great job. You know, they didn't let this kid go too crazy. And a big surprise, maybe, well, to us, maybe not to Steinert, sophomore Jordan Morrison, he only had 8 carries, and he got rest for like over 120 yards and 2 touchdowns. They only put him in, they put him in at quarterback for 2 series. Both series, there was like an 80-yard drive and a 38-yard scoring drive, both scoring drives, and he had all 80 yards on the first drive, and he had 37 of the 38 yards on the second drive. So he had 2 touchdown runs, and they also have Alex Rubio back. Alex is that tough punishing runner that runs straight ahead, drags people with him. And Morrison is one of these kids that can make people miss and, cuts back. But he's a little, as Dan Caruso pointed out after the game, he can run hard too. He's kind of a big kid, so he's not going to shy away from contact. So he'll try to make you miss, but if he has to, he'll put his head down and go straight ahead. And we should congratulate Dan Caruso. It's the first time in his 8 years as Steinert's head coach that he won an opening day game. So we attribute that to the birth of his son Max this July.
A little good luck charm.
Yeah, we're calling it the Max Factor, and Steinert is undefeated in Max's lifetime. So.
Wow, hey, that's not too bad. Another local team that had a tougher start to the season, Nottingham, falling to Lenape 35-0, but that's against a very good Lenape team. I think we all expect them to have a pretty outstanding year.
Yeah, Lenape's going to beat up on a lot of teams. Nottingham's offense just could do absolutely nothing. 10 possessions. Nottingham had 10 possessions. They went 3 and out on 7 of them. I think they only had a couple first downs. They bottled up Ben Fair, Nottingham's stud running back, and they took a 21-0 lead after the first quarter, and that was it. And we said Nottingham's going to struggle early because they're young. They have talent, but they're young, and they're still trying to get it together. So, I don't know if that was too big of a surprise because that's a tough team for a young team to opening with Lenape. Nottingham, they'll be back a little more on their level. They play West Windsor South this week, and West Windsor's coming off a loss. So, I think Nottingham can, you put that behind you. You see what you did wrong, and then you move on. So.
Before we take a break, we'll run through quickly some of the rest of the scores from that first week in Mercer County. Hopewell Valley fell to Burlington Township at home by a score of 10-7. West Windsor Plainsboro South lost 34-10 to Hightstown. And Ewing had a big win, 41-18 over Lawrence. I think that was a pretty interesting game to see Ewing put up a lot of points.
Real big win, and first time that Drew Besler has ever beaten Lawrence, the head coach of Ewing. He's been there for about 11, 13. He says it's the first time he can ever remember beating at Lawrence, and he's been there for about 12, 13 years. So congratulations to Coach Besler. That's a nice way for his team to start the season.
Robbinsville had a tough start to the season. They lost 27-0 at Cinnaminson, and as we go just a little bit outside of our normal coverage area, Florence, who will play on Saturday at 11 a.m. on 1490 AM WBCB. They got a 21-20 win over Burlington City in their first game, and Pemberton, who they will play on Saturday, had a 40-20 win over Bordentown in their first game of the season. As we quickly say before we take our break, the games that you can listen to on the WBCB Sports Network this season. This weekend, Friday at 7 p.m., Rich Fisher will be with Mike Samsel for Hamilton at Notre Dame, a game that we'll talk about a little bit more when we come back, but should be a really good one as the Irish take on the Hornets. On Saturday, we'll have two games for you. By the way, that first game on Friday will be on 107.7 FM The Bronx and 107.7thebronx.com. On Saturday at 11 a.m. on 1490 AM WBCB and WBCB1490.com, we will have that Florence at Pemberton game. George Koch will be on the call of that one. And then at 1 o'clock on Saturday afternoon on 107.7 FM and 107.7thebronx.com, Trenton will host Steinert. So we'll talk a little bit more about those matchups when we come back. This is the Mercer County Football Show, presented by the St. Francis Medical Center, your heart hospital in the city of Trenton.
Jerry Blavitt here to tell you about St. Francis Medical Center, the heart hospital in the city of Trenton. St. Francis Medical Center is one of the region's top cardiac care centers, serving all of Mercer, Bucks, and Burlington counties. Their staff of highly trained physicians provide state-of-the-art heart care to patients with cardiovascular disease and pride themselves as being the only regional heart center to offer a full spectrum of individualized services. And Consumer Report ranks St. Francis Medical Center in the top 10 hospitals in New Jersey for safety, and the #1 hospital in Mercer County, St. Francis Medical Center, the Heart Hospital.
Don't forget, if you miss any of your local high school sports action, you can read all about it in tomorrow's edition of the Trentonian. For your complete local and national news 7 days a week, it's the Trentonian, or online at thetrentonian.com. The only newspaper serving Bucks, Burlington, and Mercer County 7 days a week, it's the Trentonian.
Welcome back to the Mercer County Football Show. I'm Sean Lerman with the Trentonians' Rich Fisher. Rich Fisher also of fish4scores.com. That's fish, the number 4scores.com. And it looks like it'll be an interesting season in Hamilton athletics, and not just football, but across all sports.
Yeah, as it usually is. You know, soccer's usually there. Some decent. You know, you got Grace Dwyer running around at Nottingham for cross country. She's like one of the best in the state. Field hockey. Hamilton West is looking pretty good in field hockey, better than they've looked in a lot of years. What other sport? Tennis, Steinert tennis under new coach Jamie Reese. They got off to a good start. So, there's always something going on out there in that crazy township.
And what is going on this weekend is a lot of football. We should see some really good games this coming weekend. We'll start by taking a quick look at some of the ones that we'll see on the WBCB Sports Network this weekend. With Friday night, we talked about it a little bit, Hamilton and Notre Dame in action at 7 o'clock. We'll go live at 6:45 with the Trentonian pregame show. Rich Fisher, you'll be reunited with Mike Samsel on the call of that one, so that's always an entertaining listen. But we talked about it a little bit, but that really should be. I think that's going to be a very good game that tells us a lot about both of those teams.
Yeah, that's a good point, Sean. That will be a good indicator for both teams. Hamilton wants to get off to a good start. They want to set a good tone for the season after having a rough start last year. It was a great way for them to start. They didn't dominate. They didn't play a great game, but they did enough. They did what they had to do to win and to pull it out. And like you said, they got some big defensive plays when they had to. They got the big touchdown run when they had to. One of the big things they did was they rotated in about 5 or 6 guys at running back. I mean, he's already rotating guys on the defensive and offensive line, so he's keeping those guys fresh. Now he's putting other guys in at running back. I think they had 5, 6 guys carry the ball. And most of them did a pretty good job. They picked up like 30, 40 yards, something like that. So that's going to be interesting. Notre Dame, of course, they really want to build off of what they did at Allentown. I mean, they did so many good things. Defensively, I'm sure they're going to want to shore things up a little bit. But offensively, I mean, and we're just going by one game. We're going by opening day. It looks like it's a game of Hamilton's defense against Notre Dame's offense. Notre Dame put up 30-some points, and Hamilton gave up 7 against a pretty good Princeton offense. So can Notre Dame move the ball? Can Xavier do what he did against Hamilton that he did against Notre Dame? And that's going to be a big thing to see, and it's going to be a lot of fun to see. You got to watch out for those linebackers. As Chris told us, Reggie DeMonch, outside linebacker, whose brother was playing for the Bengals, he was all over the place. So Reggie's good. Dakota Shelton's one of the best linebackers in the county. So let's see what happens. I mean, mano a mano, I guess, in this one.
Yeah, it's definitely. I have a feeling this one is not going to be decided early in the game. This one's probably going to go down to the wire. So again, that's Hamilton at Notre Dame. You can listen to that one on Friday night. We go live at 6:45 with the Trentonian pregame show on 107.7 FM The Bronx and online at 1077thebronx.com. Saturday morning at 11 a.m. we will have, just a little bit outside of our normal Mercer County area, we will have Pemberton taking on Florence. And both of those teams picked up some wins in week one. Not really teams that we know a ton about. We don't get to see them as often in our coverage. But anytime that you have two teams that are nearby each other that picked up wins in week one, week two is huge.
Yeah, exactly. And it's all, whenever Florence plays, it's a big deal.
Right.
I mean, Florence is legendary, and Joe Frapoli is legendary, and I mean, it's just a fun event going to a Florence football game. Just the history and the tradition and everything like that. And like you said, Pemberton's only a couple, not far down the road, down 206 or wherever. So it'll be a nice Burlington County matchup.
That will be at 11 a.m. We'll go live at 10:45 a.m. on 1490 a.m. WBCB and WBCB1490.com. George Koch will be on the call of that one. And then on Saturday afternoon, we'll have more football coming your way. We have Trenton and Steinert in action. That game will be at 1 o'clock. We'll go live at 12:45 on 107.7 FM The Bronx and online at 1077thebronx.com. You will be back for that one. You will be live with Chris Ermer on that game. And it's another one we talked a little bit about those two teams, but I think it's another one where we're going to learn a lot about, especially Steinert, I think, going up against that Trenton team.
Yeah, Trenton's a little bit different than West Windsor, Plainsboro North. Trenton. The one thing that maybe prepared Steinert a little bit is going against that athletic quarterback in North, because you're going to see a lot of athletes on Trenton. So you had to deal with an athletic guy there. Problem is now you're going to be dealing with a whole lot of athletes, and it'll be a test for Steinert's defense to see what they can do against some good athletes on Trenton. It'll also be a test for their offense, because Trenton's defense has 4 or 5 guys on there that are just studs. And can Jordan Morrison do what he did again? It's like Dan Caruso said after the game last week. That was the game I was at, and Dan said after the game, they're going to start game planning for Jordan now. They're going to see tape on him. They're going to know what he's all about. So now he's going to have to make some adjustments and things like that. But I mean, they have a nice little compliment between him and Rubio. Rubio is a gutsy. Rubio's fun to watch because he just carries people with him on his back. He just never wants to go down.
And it all comes from the legs. He's got those strong legs that he just keeps going.
Yeah, and Steinert's passing game, it didn't light it up with its statistics, but it came this close to getting a couple big touchdown passes last week. Couple balls that were just overthrown slightly, stuff like that. Things that maybe if you can iron that out and just get it a little more, get a little better touch on the ball or whatever, you'll hit those big plays. And Trenton, Trenton's trying to prove to the world that, hey, Tariq Coleman is gone, and yes, he brought us back from nothing to a good program again. And now they have Muhammad Al-Sherbini there, and they want to do well for him. He was their freshman coach for a couple of years, and they want to prove to the world we're not going anywhere. We're back. So that's going to be a good little bloodbath, I think.
I think so too. Should be a good one to listen to. That game is at 1 o'clock on Saturday on 107.7 FM The Bronx and online at 1077thebronx.com. We're going to step aside, take a quick break. When we come back, we will take a look at some of the other games from around Mercer County here on the Mercer County Football Show, presented by St. Francis Medical Center, your heart hospital in the city of Trenton.
Discover the dealer for the people, Haldeman Ford Subaru, Route 33 in Hamilton Township. One of the region's finest state-of-the-art service facilities for all makes and models. A service facility so good, local school districts get their buses serviced at Haldeman. Police fleets, local municipalities get their cars and trucks serviced at Haldeman. From oil changes to tire sales, Haldeman Ford services all makes and models. And they offer tires for just $10 over cost on name brand tires like Goodyear and Pirelli. And their waiting room offers complimentary food. And there's a special Wi-Fi room available for your use. So no matter where you purchase your car, get it serviced at Haldeman Ford, the dealership for the people on Route 33 in Hamilton Township. I'm Merrill Reese to tell you about our good friends at the Revere Ristorante Italiano in nearby Ewing Township at 802 River Road. I can tell you that from South Philadelphia to New York's Mulberry Street, there's no better Italian cuisine than that served at the Revere. Start your meal with one of their great appetizers or salads. Entrees include outstanding veal dishes, fresh seafood daily, excellent steaks and chops, homemade pasta dishes, daily specials, and much more. You can also enjoy their bar area, where on most weekends, entertainment is offered. The Revere also does off-premise catering, and you can accommodate private parties for any affair, including business functions. Call the Revere Ristorante Italiano for more information and reservations at 609-882-6365. 882-6365. The Revere Ristorante Italiano open Monday through Friday for lunch and 7 days for dinner at 802 River Road, right off the Wilbertha Road exit on Route 29 in nearby Ewing Township.
Welcome back to the Mercer County Football Show, presented by the St. Francis Medical Center, your heart hospital in the city of Trenton. With Rich Fisher, I'm Sean Lerman, and let's take a look at some of the other games. There are some good ones coming up this weekend in Mercer County. One of those is going to be Hightstown and Hopewell Valley. They play Friday at 7 p.m.
Yeah, and Hightstown is, we forgot to mention this at the top of the show, Hightstown's coming off a big win at West Windsor Plainsboro South, and congratulations to Ethan Giros, the new Hightstown coach, for getting his first win. It was a big week for first-year coaches to get their first win. And Hightstown had a running back, Johnny Andre, I'm not sure how you say it, rushed for 238 yards and a touchdown. And Ryan Conlon, the quarterback, was 10 for 17 for 106 yards and 2 touchdowns. Sam Nagy, the receiver, 5 catches for 69 yards and a touchdown. So Hightstown, who really has struggled over the last 3 or 4 years, came out with a big win, a convincing win over South. And Ethan Giros was the South's defensive coordinator last year, so he might have known a few things about what was coming from West Windsor. But there's a new attitude in Hightstown, and this kid, Johnny Andre, I saw him run a couple times last year, and he's pretty good. He's, through 238 yards.
Yeah, I would say he's probably
pretty good.
He's not bad.
Yeah.
238, no big deal.
And they're playing a Hopewell team that's coming off a tough loss. Hopewell, as we said, lost to Burlington Township 10-7.
They had that chance to win it at the end with a field goal as well.
Right, they did. But Joe Immordino, who was out, Joe was out last year with injury, and Dave Caldwell said he was going to use him a lot more if he had been healthy. He ran for 106 yards, so this is interesting because Hightstown's coming in on the high of their big opening day win. Hopewell's coming in off of a tough loss. There's no other way to put it. Anytime you lose a 3-point game, it's a tough loss. And, they want to get back and they want to show, hey, they want to be like Trenton. We're not going anywhere. We've been good the last 2 years and we're still good now. And this will be another fun game to watch for the people that are going to that game.
That West Windsor Plainsboro South Nottingham game this Saturday should be a good one as well, because both teams had tough losses in week 1, but they want to come back and erase that and get to 500 for week 2.
Yeah, both teams got spanked. I mean, there's no. I'm not saying that to be mean. I mean, they just both did, and they probably Nottingham a little more so, but Nottingham was also playing a great team.
Right.
Yeah, so it's going to be a lot of trying to get retribution for what happened on opening day, and that game's going to be at Nottingham. That's their home opener, so they're going to be fired up. And I I'm not sure. I haven't seen South, so I don't know, but I'm not sure what their numbers are like either. And I know Nottingham always has a ton of numbers, at least, on their team. So that could be a case of maybe Nottingham wearing down West Windsor South. We'll have to see. You just never know. It's too early. It's too early to say anything about what's going to happen.
Right.
But you're right. These are going to be two hungry teams that really want to get a bad taste out of their mouth. So
another one that I'm looking forward to is Ewing and Princeton. I want to know, is this big Ewing win? Is this for real? Can they do it against Princeton? But also, the question with Princeton, are they going to take a step back after a surprisingly very good year last year? They lost to Hamilton in week 1, so they need to come out and have a big performance against Ewing.
Yeah, they do. I mean, Ewing put up some big numbers last week. Adami and Doggett, I'm not sure how you say his first name, he threw for 109 yards and a couple touchdowns. Dasmere Harper ran for 142 yards and a touchdown. And then he had Juwan McGinley and Doggett both ran for over 60 yards. They both ran for almost 70 yards. So Ewing showed a good running attack. Princeton, as we said, coming off that game with Hamilton, their defense did pretty well too. So are they going to be able to shut down these Ewing, these Ewing weapons that Ewing appeared to have last week against Florence? Ewing has been a little down over the last year. They haven't been the Ewing they used to be. But Drew is doing a good job of sort of bringing this program back to respectability. And I don't know. I think this could be the game where Ewing says, all right, we're for real. We're going to come out and do this. And like you said, Princeton, they want to say, hey, look, Princeton knows the value of a good start. Princeton started well last year, and it got them into the state playoffs. So they know now, we got to turn it down. Nobody wants to go 0-2.
That would be a bit of a scary start for Princeton.
Especially if you have high hopes.
One other game that will go on this weekend on Friday at 7 p.m. We probably know the way this one may go, but Allentown plays against West Windsor Plainsboro North Friday at 7. And likely a win for Allentown.
Yeah.
But hey, you never know.
Yeah, you don't ever know. But I mean, it's here's what's going to happen. Allentown got a scare last week. See, West Windsor, Notre Dame did West Windsor North no favors. Notre Dame scared the heck out of Allentown last week. So Jay Gravers is just pounding that into their heads. Do not overlook anybody. Do not overlook this West Windsor North team. So. I think, barring a miracle, I think Allentown goes to 2-0 in that. One game we really should touch on, too, because it could be the first win for the Robbinsville program. They're playing a Clayton team.
Right.
Robbinsville, now here, I got a little information from that Robbinsville game. They got beat by Cinnaminson, but this is the same Cinnaminson team that beat them by over 50 points last year. The score was like 26-0, and Robbinsville did some nice things on defense. They had a lot of tackles for losses. A kid, Elijah McNeil, had 9 tackles. The Twomley triplets, Jared, Kyle, and Taylor, combined for 17 tackles. Problem was, Robbinsville only had 98 yards of offense. So, you're going to have to move the ball. Clayton is coming off a 23-14 loss to Pennsville. And Clayton gave up close to 300 yards in offense. So maybe not Robbinsville's can go against a defense not quite as good as Cinnaminson's was. And if they can get some points, but Robbinsville's going to have to score. It's that simple. But I know just from talking to some people over there, they're confident that they can get a couple wins maybe in the next couple of weeks with the way their schedule plays out.
Should be a good week of football here in Mercer County. A reminder, the games that we have on the WBCB Sports Network. Friday at 7 p.m. Hamilton at Notre Dame will go live at 6:45. You can listen to that one on 107.7 FM The Bronx and online at 107.7thebronx.com. Saturday morning, 11 a.m. We'll go live at 10:45 on 1490 AM WBCB and WBCB1490.com with Florence at Pemberton. And then at 1 o'clock on Saturday afternoon, it is Steinert at Trenton. That game can be heard on 107.7 FM The Bronx and online at 107.7thebronx.com. Should be a good weekend, Rich. I'm looking forward to it.
It always is, Sean. It is. It'll be a fine weekend, and we'll be back next week to talk about it.
We certainly will. This has been the Mercer County Football Show with Rich Fisher. I'm Sean Lerman, brought to you by the St. Francis Medical Center, your heart hospital in the city of Trenton. Have a good weekend.